ballpark. So just how exciting is that? What's kind of the energy like as it relates to that?
Well, it's great. It's going up, every day you see the minimal changes, and then some days you see big changes when something, big steel structure gets erected or a huge staircase goes up. But yeah, the construction on the ballpark's been fun to follow, and it's one of those things that coming to work and going home each night, you peek at it because it's exciting, but it's just one of the things going on. It certainly doesn't take your focus off of what you're getting ready to do now, but yeah, it's exciting to see that thing go up. I mean, my gosh, to see images and drawings, and then to see it start to take shape is pretty fascinating. I've never had a chance to watch something from start to finish, so it's pretty cool.
How much has that played into recruiting for you guys?
Oh, it's great. I mean, anybody that's come to campus since last March that's seen the site and seen the activity, and then see the shape and some of the structures now, it's real, and it's definitely, I think, for kids that are considering where they're going to go to school in the very near future. That's a big part of them seeing themselves here and envisioning the space that they'll train in, and that they'll locker in, that they'll work on their swing in, that they'll play in front of great fans in, and that they'll ultimately have a great college experience in. So I think every facility, the one we're in right now, this is a place where guys come build their swing each day, and players want to see the space and know where they're going to spend their time developing as people, as students, and as ball players, and that's a space for them that they know they'll spend baseball development in. So it's always a big deal to kids. Everybody wants to be part of something special. I don't know of anyone that says I want to have an average experience. I want to have a big time experience, and that's what everybody wants. And so that's exciting, because I think kids can look at that and say that that's a pretty huge investment in our sport on behalf of our university by some amazing people, which means that baseball is a big deal here.
You mentioned some days you see small changes, other days you drive by and there's another structure going up. What's it like when you drive by and you see something and kind of goes through your head, wow, that wasn't there the last time I went past here?
Well, at one streak, I went over there 3 times a day during Christmas break. I was bored. Now it's probably reduced down to 1. But yeah, it's just neat to see kind of how those guys build things. The Manhattan Construction's been awesome about letting us have an inside look at what they do, and they're great people, and they want that to turn out just as awesome as we do. So it's just been, like I said, it's been an amazing experience to see something go up and to get to know the people and know how much pride they're taking in putting that facility together is really cool.
Is there any incentive for this team just in terms of kind of sending IP off the right way?
Sure. There's a tremendous amount of incentive for us to go out and have a great season, starting today with a great practice. I mean, we wouldn't have it any other way, no doubt.
How do your emotions differ maybe going into this season than past seasons with the history you have at LEP?
They don't differ at all. It's important that we get the most out of every single day, that this team in this moment in time capitalizes on this unique opportunity. That's critical to us, and that means a lot to us, and we've never looked at it any other way. We've got to get better today. We've got to get better tomorrow. Got to get better Wednesday, take Thursday off, and then attack the game again on Friday. We're not going to ever change the way we try to build a team, because I think there's only one way to do it, and that is to try to build your players up every single day and learn and grow inside the game. We've done that every year we've ever played here. We would never change our approach. You couldn't try harder because of the last year there, and you certainly wouldn't be any different in terms of your ability to get your team to live in the moment. So it's just a natural, one of those exciting progressions in a program's history, but you can't take your eye off this moment in time, and we won't.
Coach Holliday, is this team where you want it to be at this point in the process?
We're where we are because it's just on today's date. What is it, February 4th, 3rd, 4th? Because it's where we're at today. We're working hard. We've gotten good field time with the nice weather we've had in the last 4 or 5 days, so we are physically close to being in shape for this time of year. We've seen some really good live pitching in the last 3 days, so that's certainly a positive thing. Would you always want your team to be slightly more advanced? Sure, but we are today where we're at. We know exactly what we need to work on this afternoon, and we're going to attack today. And I think when you look at your team and you say, okay, if we can identify each day places to improve and exactly how we want to attack it, then we have a chance to move forward. So we're getting better. and we're learning, and the roster's challenging each other. You know, the pitchers are challenging the hitters and vice versa, which is an important thing to do this time of year as you prepare for opening day, not, 10, 12 days away, whatever it is.
You mentioned some good live pitching, of course, without Carson Teal, Jonathan Heasley, guys like that. Who are some of them that you see kind of stepping up into big roles?
Well, just going back over the weekend, Mitchell Stone threw well. Mitchell missed last year due to injury, broke his foot early in the season, and he did an amazing job with himself over the course of the season of staying in great shape despite his foot injury. Really matured, I think, as a young man and as a student, and went off and had a really, really good summer in Cape Cod, and has come back this year. His work ethic is top shelf. The maturity and the way in which he goes about everything he does is super impressive, and so I'm really excited for Mitchell to be back healthy this year. First day of scrimmages that same week, CJ Varela threw the ball good. Trying to go back through. Jensen Elliott, obviously, coming back after a year where he was available the final 3 weeks of the season, but Jensen was a big-time pitcher 3 years ago. He was a Sunday starter on a College World Series team, and a heck of a good starting pitcher as a true freshman, and halfway through, or about a quarter of the way through his sophomore year, he went down with injury, and that was a tough time to get injured because it took away not only his second season, but it also shortened up how much he was able to compete last year in his third season. So having Jensen back is just it's a huge shot in the arm for our team. He's a leader. He's a high-end person. He's a high-end student. He takes everything he does seriously. Getting him back is my gosh, that's a huge kid to get back, right? So he comes back off injury. Mitchell comes back off injury. Those two guys figure in prominently in our rotation. Logan Gragg's a transfer from Connor State College. Has done an awfully good job from day one on campus this fall. I really like where he's at. He threw the ball well in his first outing the other day. Joe Lenhart is back as a senior. Joe's pitched so many different roles in his time here. He's pitched everywhere from a Friday night starter to a Tuesday starter to a go-to relief pitcher. He's got great leadership qualities to him. A guy like Peyton Battenfield, who as a junior now is really starting to turn the corner. Brady Basso, another junior, start to turn the corner. Parker Scott, much like Jensen, missed a vast majority of his freshman year due to injury, and then missed last year as well. So he comes back to us now, healthy for the first time. And Parker, from the day he got on campus, was a guy we thought could pitch in rotation early on. He had that type of skill. So here we are now 3 years later, and he looks like he's not too far away from getting back healthy and ready to help us. So probably the exciting thing for a lot of the kids is to get back to full health, and then to add those guys together to go along with returning guys like Leeper, who had a really good fall, who I think is going to have his best year. Jake Lyons is a transfer right-hand pitcher that is another really good option for us. He's an older kid that throws a lot of strikes, so don't want to leave anybody out, but we've got a number of guys that really are excited about the opportunity for innings. And it's normal to graduate good pitchers. It's normal to graduate good hitters. It's normal to lose guys to the draft, and it's also exciting to see who comes next. And there's a lot of chances for who's next on this team.
Your position players, you have quite a few of your key guys back. Just how critical is that for this team?
Well, it's always nice to have guys back. One, you have great relationships built with them, so you enjoy the personal side of interacting with players in their second, third, in some cases fourth year. So I enjoy that as a coach a lot. You know them, so you understand what makes them tick, which again is a nice thing to have as a coach, because you know what you can count on, and you know how to move guys along, and you know who needs a pat on the back and who every now and then needs a reminder about what needs to be done. So I enjoy the relationship side of having some guys back, and seeing those faces walk through that door is pretty special when you get a kid like Colin Simpson back in his senior year, and you get to be around that kid, and you just really start to appreciate how unique he is, his upbeat attitude. The glass is always half full with Colin. Never seen him had a bad day, man. He's one of those kids that when he walks in the door, he makes sure that you're on top of your game as a coach, because he's always on top of his. So when you start looking at some really special kids and some leadership qualities that those guys have, you build around that for sure. But the key to our success will be getting each guy to get to his potential, and coaching each guy to develop their game where they can be a strong contributor, whether it be a skilled offensive player that can bunt the ball and run the bases and play high-level defense, or a guy that you're going to count on to drive in runs, or whatever the case is. You've got to get each player to their abilities, to realize their abilities, and A day like today, there's just as much time that needs to be spent investing in their mental game as there is their physical game, because those two things go hand in hand. So I do like the returning players. I like the newcomers, and how quickly we can bring those groups together and get guys playing at the peak of their game is the challenge in front of us.
How valuable is that College World Series experience you're getting and kind of passing it on to those other guys in Colin, Joe, and Jensen?
Well, oftentimes you if you're in programs or get a chance to work in different places, you hear it referred to as the DNA is in the locker room, the know-how is in there, and you want to make sure that it never goes a generation without it getting passed on. And for so many years here, the College World Series or championship experience that you see on these walls, it didn't miss a beat. It didn't miss a class. It was part of the DNA of literally every group that came through here in the 1980s. And then in the 90s, in 90, 93, 96, and 99, it reached and touched each generation of Cowboy player that played in this program. So those stories and that understanding of what a true legacy team is like and what it takes to be on one were passed on, and they were shared. And there's a tremendous amount of value in that. To look at those kids that were part of that team that are still here today, I think what you see in them is tremendous leadership, tremendous core values that those guys still to this day hold on to, that they have developed and continue to instill in the younger team members as we try to build a program that stands for all the right things each and every year we play. And I don't think you can undervalue how critical it is to have great kids, great workers, but also be some of your best players, because then the other guys look around and say, if this is how it's meant to be done and this is how these guys are doing it, then by gosh, I'm going to follow in behind those guys. And so that's in the grand scheme of things, of building a championship program is having the right people set great standards, driving the rest of the group to meet those standards, and as a program, continuing to elevate what we believe to be our yearly goals, and that's to be the very best that each team can be. And those kids get that, that's for sure. They do get that.
How do you see the left side of your infield shaping out with, losing both of those guys that were primarily there last year?
Yeah, we'll be new on the left side for sure. We got Houston Morrell is a freshman from Florida that's playing a lot of shortstop. He's a good young freshman ball player. He gets on base a lot. Got a great throwing arm. He's definitely in the mix at shortstop. Max Hewitt's in the mix at shortstop. Max played off the bench last year, got some starts late. Good defensive player, another guy with a really strong arm, kind of a bat handler type player, guy that can move the ball around, drop some bunts down. So those two guys give us good competition at shortstop. At third base, we got a number of guys that are working there. Christian Funk is working both at third and first. Christian played first base last year. He's working some at third. Cross Factor's getting repetitions at third. He's a transfer from Cali County. Andrew Navigato is working both at third and second. Andrew transferred in from Cuesta College and good baseball player. And Max is seeing some ground balls over at third as well. So there's still a lot of opportunities in front of us. We'll continue to grind every single day in the cage and on the field and have multiple guys ready, because there'll be some guys get opportunities in the early stages to see how they handle those roles, and may have some matchup opportunities with some right and left-handed hitters depending on who we're facing that given day. So there's some definite opportunities. Matt Kroon had a great year last year. I mean, he played his tail off, and was a huge part of our success, and shifted from third to short and played an awfully good shortstop. So no one really knew where Matty would be last year at this time. He blossomed and had a great year. So we've got to continue to just believe in these kids and give them their opportunities. And I'm confident that guys will take those opportunities and run with them.
This year's roster has a lot of transfers on it. How inspiring do you think that is to them to see a guy like Matt Kroon who was able to come in 1 year and make that much of an impact?
Well, it's a great story. Matt's a great story, as was Reza Ali Aziz last year. Both guys in 1 year's time jumped right in the middle of this thing and really helped our ball club. I think you look back, we've had just real good success with that. Going back to J.R. Davis this 1 year here on the College World Series team, played a huge role. Colin Thoreau, if you think back to that team, was an awesome catcher on what ended up being a tremendous pitching staff. So I think how quickly guys are welcomed in and made to feel part of this thing, how much they're made to believe in what they're doing, and also some of the adjustments they make when they arrive on campus that give them a chance to jump right in the middle of this. So you bring a transfer in usually because of the maturity level, the fact they maybe are a little bit older and stronger and have a little bit of experience under their belt, and you hope that you can use those guys to plug right in and fill an opening on your squad.
If Christian Funk switched over to third, who would you see maybe stepping into a role at first?
Well, I think the fact that Christian's developing the skill to play some third, he'll still definitely see a lot of time at first. But Jake Taylor's a kid that like his bat a lot. He's taking repetitions at first base to try to find a natural defensive fit and get his bat in the lineup. Alex Garcia's a transfer from Central Arizona College, is getting some at bats at first base. So, we have some other guys over there that, again, maybe you're facing a right-hand pitcher, you see one type of lineup. Maybe you face a left-hand pitcher and you see a different type of lineup. So, but again, we got 15, 18 at bats last weekend. Guys have a lot to digest and come back to the cage today and work on. We hope to get another 15 at bats this weekend. And as guys play well each day and make positive strides forward, their opportunities are wide open. We're definitely not a team that going into this point in time has a hard fixed lineup. And some years you may have that, some years you may not. And this is a year where there's still tremendous opportunities for guys to have a great day and build on it.
What excites you about Logan Gregg?
Logan's he's a joy to be around. He's fun. He's got an unbelievable outlook on everything he does. So first of all, he himself is exciting because there's an old-fashioned work ethic and an honesty about him that every single day you're around him, you know exactly what you're going to get. And I really like that about Logan. On top of that, he's about 6'6". His fastball's in the low to mid 90s. He has an excellent changeup. Coach Walton's done a great job of helping him get his delivery in a better place, and he's developed a pretty good slider since he got on campus to kind of replace his curveball, which wasn't quite as firm as it needed to be. So I think a combination of who he is, his toughness, and the way that the ball comes out of his hand, there's a lot about him that I think is going to help us win games.
Another
There's a lot
great-
more structure, Josh, as far as building a weekend rotation and a midweek rotation and some of those things. Are we more settled this year?
I think so, Rex. Last year we had to plan and pivot quite often, and I thought Rob managed the kids unbelievably well. And when you look at the way we were able to navigate the conference play, I think we were 16-8 in conference, I believe. Maybe some of the midweek games we weren't as deep in terms of where we've been in the past. A lot of that has to do with injury that, quite honestly, is hard to overcome when injuries happen in the middle of years. But last year's team was a series of setting up each week based upon the opponent, trying to line guys up, put them in the best opportunity possible. We obviously were heavily reliant on Carson Teal. He was, looking back, what an amazing 4-year career he had here, the way he transformed from an unknowing freshman to a gutty, confident, outgoing, visible team leader on the mound. So that was a lot of fun to see. So, we rode some guys last year who carried the load, and then you mentioned some of the other guys that moved on. I think we have a more established, healthy stable of arms that we can put together each week, and I think pitch really, really solid baseball behind it. So yeah, I feel like we'll be a little bit more traditional in that standpoint.